Excellency, the growth of tourism is extraordinary in this country at the moment. But it's not just here, is it? What we are seeing worldwide is a tremendous increase in tourism. Would you agree? The bounce back is strong.
First of all, I completely agree with you. We recovered by about 60% versus to pre-pandemic, versus to 2019. And people started to travel, and we restored or rehired again 20 million jobs out of the 60 million we lost, or the industry lost as a result of the pandemic. Saudi Arabia achieved historical numbers this year in terms of number of visits and spend. I can assure you that this year performance globally and in Saudi Arabia is much more stronger than anyone expected.
Are you surprised, Julia, at WTTC, are you surprised that the bounce back has been as strong in as many ways?
Do you know, I'm not surprised, because travel and tourism is a very resilient industry. And after people were literally locked down for 2 years, they were desperate to get out. So they had the money, they had the savings, and they had the desire. So we've seen an incredible comeback. It's come back really strong. Numbers are looking good.
And yet, that comeback, which is so strong, has led to tremendous bottlenecks. Issues of capacity, issue of management of numbers, all these sort of things at airports have all been a problem.
Well, I think what you're seeing is a classic situation of demand outstripping supply at the moment. And you're also seeing globally an issue around the number of people that can come back into our sector. We saw that in the opening session. But I have to say, I really applaud the work of His Excellency Al Khateeb, because I've never, ever seen an ambition for tourism quite like I'm seeing here. The investment, the commitment, the energy, the drive. And we, after this wonderful conference, we're going to be holding a summit here, and people are very welcome to come to it. The 28th of November, we're going to be bringing together all the big players in travel and tourism to look at the way forward for the kingdom and for us globally.
When you look at this pent-up demand, and you realize that Saudi is essentially starting an industry and growing it at size, you stand the good opportunity to avoid the mistakes that everybody else has made.
Oh, definitely. This is an opportunity for us. And let me tell you, Chris, the World Bank is expecting the global growth to slow down. However, our industry, and based on your numbers, Julia, shows that the travel and tourism industry will outperform the global growth when it comes to growth. Inflation also is a negative thing, but we expect that the number of arrivals based on your numbers will grow by 300% in 2030, and the spend will grow by 320% in our industry. We started with our NTS, Richard. The vision is clear. His Royal Highness told me two things. I want to achieve 10% GDP contribution from tourism and GDP in jobs. And the third message or third direction is to become one of the top destinations globally. And these are the clear vision. With the clear vision, as Sebastian, the chairman and the CEO of Accor, told me this morning, he said, you guys have a very clear vision, very clear plan. We have the vision, we put the plan, we put all the resources, especially the financial resources, to deliver the plan. For we are almost halfway of delivering our plan. We're achieving major successes. We will see more destinations in the near future that will put Saudi Arabia in the top.
To be at the top, define what that means. And I'll tell you why I ask that in such terms. It's not difficult to get the numbers.
Yeah.
You can give, it's true, you can sort of do cheap package tours, and you can get Chinese tourists on those visits. You can bring them in by the millions if you want to. But that's not what you need, is it?
Absolutely. We want to create the maximum value and the best experience for the people who will visit Saudi Arabia. And we promise to do that. And we are moving to do that. We are investing in our manpower. We announced the 100 million program to train the young Saudis. And we are building the best ever built destinations.
What would you, this is an unfair question, what would your guidance or advice be in this scenario, which I know you've probably given privately, but now give a version of it publicly? What's your guidance and advice, having seen the way to do this in a sustainable way? What would you say?
Well, first of all, look at the value that you bring to your country in terms of economic value and in terms of jobs. Because although we might say those are just tick boxes, they really, really matter. If 1 in 10 jobs on this planet come from direct, indirect, and induced travel and tourism, and 1 in $10. So first of all, you're creating wealth and prosperity for your people, and you're creating jobs with dignity for your people. So that's really the most important. Second, around sustainability. It is true, if you have a blank sheet of paper, if you're building a hotel from scratch, it is easier than maybe going into an old Venetian hotel and trying to retrofit it to make it completely sustainable. But it's possible, and it is happening now.
To the question, why do it? You've got lots of industries. Why do you want a tourism industry?
You have been coming to Saudi Arabia in the last 3 years more than ever. Why you are coming to Saudi Arabia?
I'm asking the question.
We have everything to offer. We have the sun and sea, we have the beautiful, pristine, Red Sea, and we have the mountains, and we have the city, and we have the culture, and we have the great people.
But it's a fickle... Oh.
And very warm people.
But it's a fickle industry.
They've got a very big heart. They're very, very warm. With the first time I came to Saudi, I had certain ideas in my head. I'll tell you, they just all disappeared. I have never been so warmly welcomed anywhere. Lovely people.
How do they avoid over-tourism? Now, I know that might sound like, you should be so lucky, but how do they avoid over-tourism? Because one of the things that came out of the pandemic was we had to change for places like Venice, Barcelona, Prague, all those over-visited places. And I'm not sure they have put in place any new policies.
I think a lot of the destinations that are very, very popular do look at this, and they look at how to spread people out and do it in different times. It is a challenge, though, you're absolutely right. But I think also the world is opening up. Tourists are going to have more places to visit. And I say tourists, but they're just human beings wanting to travel and wanting to experience other people's cultures. There'll be Saudi Arabia where they can come to. I mean, it would be a wonderful problem to have, wouldn't it, His Excellency, to have some overcrowding.
Absolutely. I do come back to this idea of it being an aspirational, inspirational industry. But I think that also clouds politicians' minds in many countries. They get all misty-eyed and forget it's a business that needs decent policies behind it, Julia. They need ministers like here who actually carry clout in cabinet and government because they're also, the dreams.
Well, I also think that with the great exception of His Excellency and Saudi Arabia that seem to really understand the value of travel and tourism, in some countries around the world, governments have taken it for granted. And they do bring in unnecessary taxes, like in the UK, APD, for travelling on an airline, that they say they're going to commit to green causes, and then they don't. So there's been a lot of mixed messages. I think we also need to remember the world is still not open, China is still closed, and we're still in that battle to bring down the restrictions and make seamless travel a reality. I mean, when you come to Saudi Arabia in a few years' time, it's pretty seamless now. You'll hardly need, it'll be a digital experience.
Yeah. We need to come to a close. We'll be here all in a few weeks, won't we? again, for the WTTC summit.
Yes.
What do you want to get from that summit?
Riyadh will be the capital of global travel and tourism industry. But let me also mention something, sustainability. We have to protect the planet. Saudi Arabia is establishing the Global Sustainability Center that will protect the jobs and will protect the environment and the social life. And therefore, we will drive more visitors and more travelers, but in the same time, we have to make sure that we have the policies that will protect this beautiful planet.
Before we finish, there are many things that I would wish to do on my birthday. Spending them with you lot is not one of them, which is why I'm so grateful to His Highness, who celebrates his birthday today.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.